Primeval. Good show? Or is it? Yeah, it is.
Hello, my name's the Doctor. You're watching Helen. Reverse the polarity.
The show's concept started with one man, Tim Haynes, a zoologist with a knack for science journalism, who made a big splash on TV back in the late 90s with the groundbreaking nature documentary Walking with Dinosaurs. This broke records as the most watched science programme in British TV history, leading to a bunch of sequels, a toy-like, a stage show. You bloody know what Walking with Dinosaurs is, okay? While working on the Walking with series, Haynes saw potential in his creations and wanted to utilise them in a drama setting. The BBC was intrigued, and together they and Haynes produced The Lost World in 2001, an adaptation of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's original novel. This reused a lot of the assets from the Walking With series, and watching it as Baby Hadley really helped to build one multimedia cohesive view of how these animals looked in real life. This was my MCU growing up. Haynes co-founded a production company of his own, Impossible Pictures, in 2002, and it was around this time the idea of Primeval crept onto the scene. Though it wasn't called Primeval yet, no, it was Cutter's Bestiary. His inspiration came from classic sci-fi films by Ray Harryhausen, which he thought had a unique charm, as well as intriguing idea of fossil ghost lineages, the concept that animals could be swapping times. Meanwhile, there was Adrian Hodges, a writer who had recently won a BAFTA for Charles II, The Power and the Passion, was chatting with Laura Mackey, the BBC's head of drama. After turning down a project because he wanted something more fun, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Mackey suggested Cutter's Bestiary, and he said that the title was a bit naff, but overall liked the concept. Several scripts were planned, characters created and cast, and in 2007, Primeval aired its first episode to 7.9 million viewers. On ITV, the BBC's rival. That's because when Haynes and Hodges were making ground on the concept of the show, the BBC wanted to pull the plug because they felt it was a bit too similar to one of their other properties, Doctor Who. Not an entirely unfounded worry, if I'm honest. Both shows have hard science fiction elements that they don't take as uber gritty as they potentially could. They're both fun shows, but while Doctor Who leans on the campy side, Primeval has a nice, almost noir mystery to it. I'd compare it less to Doctor Who, and more like the Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated series. Iconic and recognisable family fun, but on closer examination there's a lot more substance beneath the surface. But this means that Impossible Pictures was now directly competing against the company who brought them their initial platform and fame. I love talking about Primeval on here because nobody remembers it until I bring it up, and then everyone is obsessed with it. Doctor Who overshadows a lot of British sci-fi, especially in the early 2000s, but Primeval has a way of lingering inside its teenage, now adult fans' minds, just waiting for the chance to come back. In my iceberg video, I used footage wherever I needed it, and it got copyright claimed. But it went on to be my most successful video to date, and that could have been a small fortune. Not that I do this for money, I really try and make videos that I would want to watch, hopefully to try and build a community of like-minded people who can discover new things and maybe contribute themselves. But as there's a risk of this video getting struck as well, would you subscribe? I don't know. And we kick off. Bloody hell, I knew this thing was made to compete with BBC's Doctor Who, but you think they could have been a bit less obvious with their Dalek ripoff. This is our cold open, as this fucking thing is chasing a woman who tries to seek shelter inside, and how fucking bad is it to not open the door to a distressed woman? I get it, if he'd opened the door and she said she was being chased by a dinosaur, then yeah, tell her to sod off, but he has no idea what's going on. She could be being chased by a man, she could have been assaulted, whatever. This is why women pick the bear. Or in this circumstance, the Gorgonopsid. The orientation of this scene confuses me. The trolley drops to her from above, so did the monster pick up the trolley, climb onto the roof and drop it? Or is it a distance away and through it? Either way, it doesn't entirely make sense, but this opening sequence genuinely feels like a nightmare. So I can understand why breaking the laws of physics is necessary for the horror. It's like when they let Batman break the laws of physics just because it's cool and badass. We are seeing this from the victim's point of view, as this monster is hunting them down. We pick up 8 years later, and from a photograph we see later, this is 5:50 p.m. on the 17th of March 2006. Presuming it's the modern day, this would mean that the scene we just saw happened in 1998. Remember that. We meet one Professor Nick Cutter, played by actor Douglas Henshall, who works for the Department of Evolutionary Biology at Central Met. He's been working here for 10 years, and it was where he met his wife. The woman being attacked in the opening. Okay, I got you. We're locked in. Plot progression. I swear, Cutter is such a good leading man to have in this show. He's a haunted character, never fully having gotten over the disappearance of his wife, and becomes increasingly obsessed with uncovering the truth of the universe. An alcoholic investigator with a dark past haunting him. This is a Call of Cthulhu protagonist if I've ever seen one. And his office is damn sweet as well. I want this to be my living room! Hell, looking at my actual living room, I think the Scotsman may have had something to say about my taste in interior designs.
See, I argue that all life on Earth derived from organisms carried here by alien spacecraft.
Alright, Ridley Scott, simmer down. One of his students, Connor Temple, played by Andrew Lee Potts, comes to his office with news. There's been sightings of a large creature in the Forest of Dean, the very same one we saw a moment ago. And in fairness, the UK does have a surprisingly common history with cryptids. The Black Beast of Exmoor and its fictional counterpart, the Hound of the Baskervilles, being the most relevant ones here. We get big cat sightings every year, and there is evidence that the moors of the UK support or have supported a large cat population. Anyone remember the Essex lion? Cutter has a sec here where he uses the coelacanth hypothesis at the time where it was still okay to use the coelacanth hypothesis. For those that don't know, coelacanth was a species of fish that went extinct in the Cretaceous period that then just inexplicably showed up alive one day in the middle of the Indian Ocean. So the hypothesis goes, if a fish could survive all this time undetected, what about other prehistoric marine life? It's a very popular debate tactic in the Megalodon and the Loch Ness Monster cryptozoologist groups. Of course, nowadays, we have since found fossil evidence of coelacanth existing between the modern day and its expected extinction, which means the old chap was more than likely the exception, not the rule, but don't let that diminish what was an extremely cool scientific discovery. Just because it doesn't mean that sea monsters exist, it doesn't mean that this fish didn't freak out scientists back in the 1930s. The Forest of Dean is the same place that Harry Potter and Hermione Granger hid out from the Death Eaters in the Deathly Hallows. That also happened in 1998, which means Harry and Hermione were damn close to having to fight off a Gorgonopsid as well as Voldemort. That is a fanfic I'd read the fuck out of. And it's clarified here that this is the exact area that Cutter's wife disappeared in. Okay, the plot, it's thickening. The music in this scene where they see the bent fence is haunting. The entire OST of this show is brilliantly eerie music. Unrelated now, we cut over to Wellington Zoo, and the manager here I distinctly remember being played by Toby Jones. He's got one of them faces that you distinctly remember, so I was weirded out when I rewatched this and it wasn't the case. Berenstein Bears, anybody? Who knows? Maybe somebody changed history. I'm getting ahead of myself. Not Toby Jones tells Abby Maitland, the reptile handler played by Hannah Spirit, that they're going to have to cut her funding and slim down the reptile program. We never do see Brad and Angelina again after they slim down the program. In my opinion, they ate them. But a zoo gets a call about an unusual pet lizard and Abby decides to make a house visit. I love her car, man. Normally I like something a bit more classic, but you can't go wrong with a Mini. Fundamentally British. When she arrives at the house and meets this lizard, the damn thing is flying about. She initially suggests the Draco lizard, which does glide, but it's very obvious that that is not what this is. When it flies, it flies. That's an important difference, as the most lizards have ever been able to achieve is gliding motion. Actual powered flight has only evolved 4 times, that we know of, in history. Birds, bats, pterosaurs, and insects. Maybe primates, since there's a sect of pseudoscience who believes the megabats are a sister group to great apes. They're not, obviously, but that is going to come back up later. This kid doesn't have any sort of lighting system set up to give the animal warmth, and with how energetic it's being, far more like a curious dog than a heat-deprived lizard, makes me think this guy is warm-blooded. The development of warm blood is still a bit of a mystery in history, and a lot of what we know from it is educated guesses. This is our first example of speculatory evolution in the show, which is a topic you're going to hear a lot more about as this video goes on. Connor was always my favourite as a kid. Growing up with Asperger's and a crippling dinosaur addiction, it felt good to have a character that I felt represented me, who, okay, was the butt of jokes a lot of the time, but was loved by the audience and treated like a useful member of the team. Doesn't help that he ends up with the athletic tomboy either. Ooh! He is a bit incel-y, but this show was a product of its time, where being an incel made you a little bit kooky, a little bit hipstery. If this had come out a bit later, expect the Super Hulock fandom to have lapped this guy up.
Go to a bar, meet a nice girl. Yeah, I've already got a girlfriend. Sort of.
Oh yeah, how old is she? Did you meet her on Discord by any chance? This show has brilliant aesthetics. It has the moody, glum atmosphere of the UK's weather, but applies it to an almost X-Files inspired choice of imagery and mood. The vibes here definitely hit along the noir detective investigating an eldritch cult. And this cow in the trees scared the shit out of me. Ben suggests it's up there because big cats bring their prey up into trees to save them for later, again leaning towards the idea that this beast is something feline.
Must have escaped from a private zoo or something.
Private zoo. Oh, that is going to come up a lot over this show. Anything unusual, it's a private zoo. Mosasaurus in the swimming pool.
Must have escaped from a private zoo.
Pterosaur on the golf course.
Must have escaped from a private zoo.
Tyrannosaurus Rex rampaging through San Diego.
Must have escaped from a private zoo.
Okay, that one actually works. Nearby, Cutter has checked into a hotel for the evening when suddenly he is assaulted at the bar! This meeting between him and Claudia is weird. Imagine the roles were reversed. But then again, this is the 2000s. Little Britain was airing at this time, for comparison.
Will you be having cake? If they have a ladies' cake, we are ladies, aren't we? Yes, we are most definitely two of them, yes.
Claudia Brune, played by Lucy Miller, is a government agent sent from the Home Office. Those animal sightings might not be nothing after all, as they're also launching an official investigation. Something not normal is happening to the Forest of Dean. Meanwhile, outside, Connor is getting to know Stephen, Cutter's teaching assistant slash Bezzy mate, who's got a bit of a reputation for himself as an action man. Or a G.I. Joe for those outside the UK.
Not to mention wrestle an anaconda and save a whale.
You're hard. They come across the same kill as Ben and Abby did, and just look at this. The fog in the back, the twisted, writhing branches looking like they're trying to claw their way into the sky, the black dirt coating the entire scene like a blanket of death, and their silhouettes against the forest. Who let these guys cook? Ben legs it, but not before finding something. Looks like a rupture in reality. It's moving, it's pulsating, it's alive. And on the other side of it is a world left behind millennia ago. This is the same filming location they used for the Cretaceous period in Walking with Dinosaurs, I swear. This whole sequence is fucking traumatizing. I had nightmares as a kid of being chased by an enormous monster whose strides were like 20 feet apart, so running from it was pointless. It was the first time that I experienced true existential horror and was replicated almost exactly in a scene in Pacific Rim, but this is the brand of terror this scene elicits as this absolute abomination descends on this wee lad. You get a good look at the creature's face and jaws here, and it's where it might start to look familiar to some of the more paleo-inclined of you. Gorgonopsid was the biggest land carnivore ever when it first appeared in Earth's history, and the first one to grow those predominant saber teeth. It, like the lizard earlier, isn't a dinosaur. Although the Permian was the age of the lizards, it's species like this making up the mammal-like reptile clade, who would go on to evolve into the true mammals. That's right, on a technicality, mammals came before dinosaurs. As far as paleo media goes, it's a fairly obscure choice to pick. Tim Haynes had used one already with Walking with Monsters, but that was for the ITV's rival, the BBC. And this beast is way bigger than that one. Obviously, this is a sci-fi horror, so they're allowed to monsterify the creatures a little bit, but this could also be taken as the ITV saying, hey, our knobsid is bigger than your knobsid. That was a fucking hilarious joke. I mean, hey, the lightsaber is a big, blunt object. May not be very strong, but it's as good a weapon as any that you can grab randomly. Though I am more of a backlech man myself. God, I thought I'd changed channels then and was watching the Resident Evil 1 intro. Look how creepy that is. I'm expecting Michael Jackson in a red suit to jump out at them. Okay, maybe he would have done if Ben was still there. Oh my god, it's your mum. The light flares in this scene, never mind Ridley Scott. It looks like J.J. Abrams has been taken from this as well. Finding this huge beast, despite all the questions it raises, they can at least cross it out as a feline predator that drags its prey into trees. And as Ben's lizard comes trundling out the darkness, they realise there's multiple unexplained animals, not just the one.
5 or 6 tons at least.
Oh my god, it's your mum!
It looks like a dinosaur, behaves like a dinosaur. It's a dinosaur.
It's not a dinosaur, you prat. You're supposedly the paleo expert. You should know a damn Permian synapsid when you see one. The Home Office arrives in force to secure the area around the portal, with our main characters being kept around because they were the first on the scene and, as such, are officially working for the government now, whether they want to or not. So, if the anomaly takes something in, does it make it not magnetic on the other side? Otherwise, wouldn't objects just get thrown back and forth continuously? Or maybe if they're small, they can get thrown far away enough that they're out of range, but well, what about something big and heavy like an anchor? No way is it throwing that, so would it just sit inside the anomaly? And why does the lizard have such a big cage? I imagine it's so he can fly about, but there's nowhere near enough room for that, so they should have just tucked him into a pet carrier. A weighted blanket is the ideal Pseudosauropus restraining method.
You spend your entire career planning for just about every crisis imaginable, up to and including alien invasion. Then this happens.
I hope it's just Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, because those two seem to have quite good records with those kind of incursions. God, I just fully thought Cutter walked into the wall. Why are the rooms positioned like this? Taking the lizard back to the Home Office, our impromptu team is finally able to get some answers. And the results from the DNA test confirm it. Rex is in fact a long-extinct species called Pseudosauropus. Oh my god, be careful with him! This escape sequence gave me anxiety. I have indoor pets that I would be traumatized if they got out. Never mind a bloody flying prehistoric reptile. Connor does some research, and at last we have an identification for our monster. And how the fuck is the online image of the Gorgonopsid a complete CGI character render, even with the same colorations of the real one? I get it, it's all Haynes' past work, probably cheaper than designing it from scratch, but this sort of thing completely breaks me out of the immersion, which the blurry photograph and physical evidence earlier had done a good job of building up. They missed an opportunity to show some cute as shit paleo art and say experts expect it to be largely harmless, and then this fucking thing shows up. Ben, meanwhile, is serving detention in school the next day. But he's not alone. This thing has to be actually tracking him specifically at this point. That's terrifying. And watching this as a young boy was just the coolest thing imaginable. This looked like mine, and probably a bunch of your primary schools too, and statistically a lot of you, this is the age where you were watching it for the first time as well. Luckily, Stephen is on its track. For all the good that that's going to do. Back at the site, I've said it before, and I have been fighting Harry to say it again, but this show is really visually distinct. The sort of setup brings to mind only, well, the moon landing, or some kind of Roswell, and this anomaly is exactly that. It doesn't ever fit in or make sense in the environment it's in. It's a complete puncture in the fabric of space and time. It doesn't matter what the pattern of fabric is. A hole torn will always look the same. Cutter decides to spill his beans about his relation to the area to James Lester, head of the Home Office and thus the immediate highest authority. He proposes a bold plan to launch an expedition through the anomaly into the past to document, study, and if possible, find any traces of his wife, Helen Cutter. And incredibly, he's able to get authorization for this. I typically pick science over soldiers in most of these TV shows and movies, but in this case, I absolutely think the Home Office makes the right call sending an armed soldier with him. The show tries to frame it as government interference, but no, this is the right call. The world back then was composed of one giant supercontinent, Pangaea. Everyone knows Pangaea, but did you also know it was home to the largest desert in Earth's history, which brought the hottest temperatures our blue world would ever host? The Permian era was the Earth on nightmare difficulty, not to mention the atmospheres, probably not breathable, and the foreign bacteria would attack their immune systems quickly and fatally. They should both be in contamination suits as well. This is something that's overlooked in sci-fi media, which is kind of absurd to me, considering it is literally the plot of the War of the Worlds. Oh my god, look at that. I want this as a watercolour canvas for my living room. My Nick Cutter living room. Thank you very much. Looking at it again, I think this might have also been used as the Cretaceous in Prehistoric Park as well. Now that's a show I could write a 2-hour long video on. Captain Ryan calls Cutter over and we find the remains of a human camp in the Permian era. They also find a body, which Ryan figures to be Helen's. Nick deduces it isn't hers by counting the ribcage, which I'll have you know is a complete myth. Trans investigator Nick Cutter. Men and women have always, and will always have the same number of ribs. The women missing one thing came from the Bible, of all places. Then again, she would have been her own Eve living out here in a brand new world. God, do you remember when Yorkies looked like that? I'm as left-wing as they come, but on the topic of the original Yorkie packaging, I am firmly in the past. It just tasted right from this. Ryan suddenly clocks the expedition's time is up and it's time to go back to the future. But Cutter is having absolutely none of it. He's travelled nearly 3 million years into the past because he is going to find his wife and isn't leaving without some kind of solid answer. My guy is down bad for his missus. It's beautiful to see. Captain Ryan resorts to a classic debation tactic and twats Cutter with the back end of his gun. This walk back really puts him through the ringer. Bless him. And even after carrying him all that way, the first thing Cutter does is punch him. Yeah, hit him back. And when Cutter still refuses to return to the present, our captain decides to stay put as well. Now that puts Cutter on the spot. He's willing to throw away his own life for a chance at closure, but he can't force that onto someone else. Proper mate, this one. Good soldiers follow orders, and Captain Ryan is doing His Majesty the King proud. Still feels weird saying the king. Oh my god, I am going to shit myself. This is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It has red eyes. Fuck raptors. The Gorgonopsid needs its own horror series. Oh, Wilhelm, no! How the hell that survived being hit head on, I don't know. I guess it only had a running start, so it could have been going like 20 miles per hour. But just look how hard this thing got knocked out. There's barely a scratch on the car. This thing is like Jason Voorhees. It will not stay down. The next day at the Home Office, Lester has the footage from the found cameras developed, and guess what? They're of Helen, alive and well out in the Permian desert. Cutter was right. She went through the anomalies, which means this has happened before. He has a really good speech about the existence of the anomalies here, about how there's some mysterious force that has torn a hole in the very fabric of space and time, and if it's happened once, who's to say it won't happen again? He is adamant this is far from all over. With that, he grabs Stephen, Abby, Connor, and they are off. Man, he gives vibes of Peter Capaldi's Doctor Who. And I don't think Douglas Henshaw would have been bad as a more serious Doctor, a la the War Doctor or Six. So this first episode comes to its close, Cutter's reflecting on how drastically his view of the world has changed in such a short amount of time. When he leaves his office for a split second, only to return to find... I hope he put this in a fucking tank or something. Never mind your bloody dead wife mysteriously lingering out the window. There's a living specimen of one of the most symbolic prehistoric animals of all time, and you are a professor of paleobiology. You better get on Exoterra and get something sorted for that chap right now. What a first episode. Apparently in the scripting process, Primeval was at one point originally envisioned as a feature-length TV movie. And you could easily craft an extra half an hour to an hour onto this episode, and it would fit perfectly. The first season of Primeval is debatably the best, and this opening episode is a genuine contender for one of the best in the whole show. The next episode broadcast the following week, the 17th of February, and this time takes us to the London Underground. This is roughly how every episode in the show starts, with little horror scenes setting up the mystery before the title sequence. God, I hate getting the tube. I didn't know that I didn't like being underground until living in London and being forced to use the tube every day. It is always boiling, everything is filthy, and the rudest people I've ever met in my entire life apparently just live down there. Apart from the Elizabeth line, love you baby. At Central Met, we are back with Connor, who's chilling with his mates Duncan and Tom, played by James Bradshaw and Jake Curran. These guys are a group of geeks. You can tell this because it's absolutely impossible for them to give a single line of dialogue without referencing some pop culture shit.
I swear on my Empire Strikes Back first edition poster signed by Luke Skywalker and Dave Proud.
Yeah, I know what a sacred relic is, Duncan. I have seen Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Sounds like someone's been overdoing the PlayStation. Saddest thing I've seen since Matrix Revolutions.
You can have my Star Trek Next Generation top trumps.
This stuff used to make me feel seen. Now it has the same vibe as the "Hello, fellow kids" meme.
Official Secrets Act. But I will tell you this, I've seen a Gorgon opposite.
Connor, how can you say that you are reinforcing an official secret while also revealing the biggest parts of that secret? It's like you ask an Area 51 gate guard if they've seen anything suspicious, and they're like, "Oh no, not much." Well, there was those frozen conjoined corpses from that Antarctic research base, but if I told you about that, I'd have to kill you. If you have to say something, just say you're working to bring back the mammoth, okay? Indie companies announce that every 6 months anyway. Oh, and Rex snuck in at the end of the last episode. I thought I'd wait to bring that up until now because Abby is housing him at her flat. Now, there's a deleted scene in this episode that actually survived in its novelisation where they clarify Abby's been transferred over to the elephant enclosure to study the parasites in their dung. Stephen turns up and, on behalf of Cutter and the Home Office, donates the Helen Cutter Educational Trust to save her reptile program on the clause that she keeps working with the team to study the anomalies. Those had better be fucking quarantine tanks. You can dance your little pink bottom all you like, young lady. You are not keeping lizards in enclosures that size. Connor turns up claiming that he's tracked sightings of another creature and wants her to check it out with him, but she reckons they should play it safe and let the Home Office know first. And we're back in the underground again.
Welcome to the underground.
I have a complex relationship with spiders. I don't like them in principle, but when I see ones that are large enough, like Oragog, or whatever the fuck that monstrosity is, they're more like proper animals. I'm not as bothered about them. And that's even true for some of the extinct species. Huntsman spiders are badass, but if I find a flying daddy longlegs in my room, I'm torching the whole apartment. I realise that I should have probably put up a trigger warning that this is an episode about giant spiders. I'm going to be showing you giant spiders. At the Home Office, Lester and Claudia are clearing up the aftermath of the Forest of Dean. They've secured the area and Captain Ryan is on duty in case it reopens. And the only significant leaks have been internet talk. The only two witnesses, Ben and Miss Jackson, are too traumatised to cause any trouble. They've managed to cover the whole event up, though Lester still feels that Cutter's team are loose ends.
I trust him, that's what you mean.
Yeah, I know you did. You bloody assaulted him in a bar. Bro, never mind the spider. Did you just drop an apple on the floor of the London Underground and then proceed to pick it up while only barely cleaning it and not hesitate to take a bite out of it? The London Underground is weird, man. Don't go there. Connor and Abby arrive in the New Forest where the alleged sightings have been reported. What was their plan here? If an Allosaurus was to come hurtling at them through the trees, talk it down?
The tent's only big enough for one.
Ooh, the tent is only big enough for one of them. Oh, get your fanfic.net AO3 bullshit out of my face. Nah, Abby puts him in his place. You can actually see the nice guy agenda manifesting behind his eyes. Bit of me can hardly blame him though. Hannah's spirit is gorgeous. And Abby was my first exposure to tomboys. This show was probably my first encounter with questioning gender norms. I'm not saying I have Hannah's spirit to thank for making me like non-binaries and muscle mummies, but if the binder fits... There's a little love triangle going on here. Abby has a crush on Stephen, which I'm not really a fan of. I mean, he's got his assistant, but also his student and his best friend, so I can't quite figure out how old he's meant to be.
I've never seen him with a woman. Could be gay.
You know, that does make me a bit nostalgic. Back in the 2000s when calling something gay was just a noun. Look at that bush. No, it's gay. That car is gay. Look at that plane. No, it's gay. We really don't use it anymore, probably for the best, but at least we have Skibbity Toilet Riz to fill that niche. And there's some spine-tingling imagery here with Connor's phone lighting up his silhouette. Something has been stalking them while they're asleep and has begun to make its way towards them. Then it malfunctions, collapses, and Tom and Duncan come giggling out of the woods like schoolgirls. Connor, mate, what do you expect when you go around chatting pure bullshit? And where did they get an entire animatronic dinosaur? Then again, they do live in uni accommodation. The police show up and those two scarper, leaving Connor and Abby to explain their reasons for trespassing. The next day, Cutter shows up and quite rightly bollocks them for going unarmed and alone. But ignoring his sound logic, a bit of me does feel for Connor on a deeper level when he says, it's just so big. This isn't a few exotic animals wandering around the woods that they're covering up. It's our entire understanding of reality that's changed. If I'd discovered something like this, there is no force on earth that would get me to leave it alone. And it mirrors a conversation Cutter and Claudia had earlier about the public's right to the information versus the panic it would cause. I get it, and practically, I'm on Claudia's side with keeping it covered up. Connor gets booted from the team, but Abby's allowed to stay because they don't see it as her fault, and I imagine because they'd already given her the donation money. Oh, Wilhelm's brother, oh my god. They call these spiders, but as Cutter says, they probably have more in common with ancient scorpions. They're just arachnids who look like spiders. The biggest spider to ever exist, that we know of, is alive today, the Goliath bird-eating tarantula, who gets up to a foot long. I love Australia. What species this is goes unconfirmed in the episode, but the most likely answer is it's a more exaggerated version of the species we saw in Haynes Walking with Monsters, though that species has since found to be aquatic. The Primeval Wiki reckons it's Protosepulga, which does fit the shoe a little nicer. Wilhelm's brother survived his attack and has been taken to the hospital, where the unusual nature of the accident attracts the Home Office. They're discussing the man's last conscious words, and the music has another mysterious flair. The camera pans to show the wound, and don't know if I can show that on YouTube. The hospital staff cannot understand what they're dealing with, as even though the puncture is big and the blood loss extreme, he's actually dying from venom. I'm so glad that the nurse made this distinction because it is a pet peeve that really winds me up. Poisonous means if you bite it, you die. Venomous means if it bites you, you die. Not to be a pedantic arsehole, but this is information that could literally save someone's life in an emergency scenario. Be that guy and correct people every time you have the chance. Poison means if you bite it, you're dead. Venom means if it bites you, you're dead. Later on at the Home Office, things are getting a little bit heated. Cutter is pushing hard to shut down the London Underground. Lester isn't having it. He thinks closing the whole system would throw the city into chaos, especially since definitive evidence of an anomaly incursion isn't actually solid yet. Claudia steps in and they reach a compromise of shutting down only the section where the pest controller got attacked. I like that the show goes to real places. And I don't mean filming on location, I mean every spot that an anomaly shows up in feels like a random place that you already know. And I love that everyone in this story hates the London Underground just as much as I do.
And there can't be that many different types of venomous predator under the old witch.
You should see the last tube home on a Friday night.
Thank you, Jenny. Claudia, fuck. And what they find down there is... oh my god, this is horrible. They push through to large barracks left over from the World War, which is being used as a nest. Man, I'd have been fucking out of there! Oh, Sarah Jane Smith moment. I question the physics of the bullets ricocheting off in all directions. I could probably look up the range capabilities of that model, but I'm not going to, specifically because it will annoy my mate Cowgill, who's an army freak. Yeah, get a real interest like Star Trek, you Columbine wannabe. Is it too dark? It's true, he belongs on a register. Oh no, that was Wilhelm's third brother! They were triplets! Ryan has started developing a headache, and the reason the bullets earlier were so bright is because the Carboniferous period had much higher levels of oxygen in the atmosphere, a whopping 35 compared to our measly 21. And this is similar to what I was saying earlier about us breathing in the Permian air. They've got the atmosphere from the past entering the modern day, creating a small, almost terraformed area of the underground that the megafauna can survive in. But all of this, of course, also means that the Forest of Dean incursion was not a one-off. The anomalies can open to completely different periods of Earth's history at random. Cutter has an unusual choice of wording here.
What's happening to us?
What's happening to us, as opposed to we found it, or what's causing this. It's daunting over us, the importance of what's happening, and the responsibility not just to contain, but to stop its otherworldly tendrils from escaping into their lives too. It's so beautiful of a scene that it makes me pretend I don't see the huge stack of metal objects surrounding the supposedly magnetic anomaly, when suddenly something new appears. A gigantic, creepy crawly. Abby and Stephen make it out, but Cutter gets trapped in the tunnels. And we also get the news that the second Wilhelm brother has been lost. Only military Wilhelm remains to preserve his brother's legacy. When Claudia is completely unable to get through to Cutter, the team deduce that the tunnels he's trapped in don't have an exit. So Stephen volunteers himself to go back down to try and extract him. Is anyone else getting the vibes of Resident Evil 0? I want to say that game is underrated, but its item management system is trash and its lore is questionable. But, I mean, it's got gorgeous aesthetic on the train, mansion, and the subway, which is what it's reminding me of right now. There's giant spiders, giant millipede enemies in that game, so maybe I'm onto something. Out of their depth, the group give Connor a call up. I like that they're giving him his credit, but I also can't help but feel that only he can solve it is objectively fake. Like, they have the entire British Empire worth of paleontology and all of its records to consult. Hell, an autistic 10-year-old with a dinosaur fascination could probably help you out right now. Cutter gets a glimpse of someone else trapped down here with him, but the figure escapes before he's able to make contact. How the fuck anyone was able to get out of this concrete locked door, I don't know. It's the show bending reality again. Like whatever that Gorgon Obsid was doing in the opening. Stephen gets got. It's probably for the best. R.I.P. You won't be missed. The same figure Cutter saw earlier reappears to him, but doesn't help. Luckily, Cutter finds him and the two are able to get the hell out of there. We've all had to help a mate from the train station to the hospital after he got off with a venomous beast on a night out, but this one really takes the cake. Claudia gives me vibes of if Kate Lethbridge Stewart was what the Doctor Who show want her to be. She continues to say poisonous, even though the nurse has already explained it, so I'll say it again. Poison means if you bite it, you are dead. Venom means if it bites you, you are dead. And Abby, you're literally a lizard girl. You should know the difference. Connor has found the beast responsible, an Arthropleura, courtesy of more Walking with Monsters promotional material. Oh, but what's this?
So it's not poisonous?
No way. According to this, it would have eaten dead wood and leaves.
They're saying that this real version is way worse than what they expected. It's a venomous hunter, not a leaf eater. Okay, good. This is the kind of monsterification I like, where it's a plot twist, where it's relevant to the plot that the creature is way worse than what they expected. It's also twice as big as the original, which could even point to it being an as-of-yet undiscovered sister species. And Stephen is now starting to react the same way the pest controller did, meaning the spiders are innocent, and it's the Arthropleura that they have to blame. If they're not able to synthesize an anti-venom, he's a goner. Oh, and as he's been taken away, Stephen asks Abby out on a date. Cringe. She and Connor believe the hospital's tests aren't going to work in time to save him, and Cutter agrees. The only way they can get Stephen's life back is by getting a pure sample of the venom, which Claudia jokes is going to ask it to go fill up a specimen jar, to which he just looks at her. Man, Cutter is such a boss! He tells Ryan to clear out the bunker with flashlights, but to make sure that the Arthropleura doesn't go back through. But when the team heads down, this thing has been able to burrow through solid concrete bricks. They follow the tracks, but not before Connor tells Abby to keep his Star Trek The Next Generation Top Trumps TM if he doesn't make it back. Top Trumps aren't worth anything, are they? He should have said something like his boxed Star Trek Spock helmet, kept it nerdy and funny. And seriously, how much has this thing burrowed through? Is that a thing that insects are capable of doing and I just didn't know? They come out into a mains room and oh my god, third location, boss battle, boom. This is Resident Evil.
Resident Prime Evil.
Cutter squares up to the creature and it takes a good old chunk out of his arm. Or so we think. The mad lad has wrapped up his arm with a specimen bag packed with body armour, meaning, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. In the aftermath of this episode, Abby is watching over Stephen, who is slowly recovering, slowly but surely. He wakes up and she playfully jabs at him asking her out, but he don't have a clue what she's on about. Turns out the anti-venom had the side effect of memory loss. He remembers neither asking her out, nor claiming Helen appeared to him. Nah, bollocks, he definitely remembered, he just regretted it. He was drunk or high on that bug juice and it gave him the beer goggles. Girl, just let him go, you can do better. Which, reluctantly, she does. And the subplot between her and Stephen doesn't carry on past this second episode, which makes me wonder why they introduced it in the first place. Back in the shelter, Cutter's having a nice bit of time to himself when Connor comes in. He says he's fine with letting him back into the Scooby Gang, so long as he keeps his mouth shut and takes it seriously in the future. Alone again, Cutter really takes his time in front of the anomaly, overwhelmed by how much his life has changed over the course of just 2 days. I am genuinely invested to see if he gets to the bottom of his wife's mystery. Old grumpy characters have a way of tugging at my heartstrings. And that was our second episode. That's right, we are 1/3 of the way through the entire first season. That's right, only 6 episodes. Which is pretty average for the UK, lower budgets and all. Over the course of 5 seasons, Primeval only had 36 episodes. Which in the West would be what, about a season and a half? What can I say, in the UK we prefer quality over quantity. Episode 3 aired on the 24th of February and I hate this episode. Not in a bad way, it's actually a very good episode, but I hate water. I am severely thalassophobic. Any water that I can't see the bottom of just freaks me the hell out. I have this specific fear of being underwater in the middle of the ocean, and it's bright enough that everything's lit up, but it's so bright that I can't tell which way is up and which way is down. And as I'm panicking, what I think is an endless expanse in front of me grows dark as teeth fill in the rim of the horizon, and I realise the whole time I've been looking into something's mouth. Yeah, hate that. Findley Maclula Cthulhu Villier Afnarful Tagan. Toi! Granted, you can see the bottom of swimming pools, so this scene just disturbs me on a deeply spiritual level, rather than interfering with my enjoyment of the show. But this is the mindset I want you to keep as we're about to go into Primeval's first water episode. We see this is at the Crystal Palace Diving Institute. Crystal Palace, of course, famous for its dinosaur exhibitions in 1852, which are still going today. It's all vastly inaccurate by today's science, but this was the first of any kind of physical recreations of what dinosaurs could have looked like, so it's a very important spot for any fan of paleontology. Not relevant to the episode, I just thought I'd mention it. Bro, how the fuck did you not see that before you came off the board? It was trapped. It was imprisoned here. You could have had a news crew here in 20 minutes. You could have been Anthony, the Serpent King. Your life was about to change for the better if you'd just sodding looked slightly to your left at the giant marine reptile hurtling through the water towards you. Oh my god. Lester is played by Ben Miller of Miller and Armstrong and the Good Johnny English movies. I've noticed that whenever comedy actors make the jump into serious or horror roles, the results are usually really good. We're not given Lester's official role in the UK government, just that he's a civil servant, head of the Home Office, and that he fucks. Seriously, rewatching this as an adult, the fact Lester has replaced Connor as my new favourite probably says a lot.
The anomalies are conclusive proof that the past exists, and a fourth dimension as real and solid as those we already know.
I always thought this was a bit of a weird line as a kid, but as I've gotten older, I've made more sense of it. The idea that time might not exist or is an illusion is actually quite old. Folks who entertain the idea argue that time as we perceive it is a human construct, and instead of flowing in a straight line, everything just kind of happens and exists in a closed-off sandbox. It was only with Einstein's theory of relativity that we got a better grasp on the idea of time being an observable phenomenon and how gravity can warp it. Yeah, gravity affects time. There is a time dilation between the Earth and the International Space Station. How cool is that? Connor's fit is, again, it's very Reddit coded. He's like an autistic teenager who just discovered Doctor Who for the first time and it became their entire personality.
I'll give you a lift home.
Oh, there's no need, my girlfriend's picking me up.
Oh, you absolute shitbag. What a fucking wanker. I knew it. He was only coming on to her because he was off his tits and she was fit.
I'm conducting a serious murder investigation.
There wasn't a murder. Anthony Barton was killed by an ancient marine predator.
Cutter, I get that you're a free spirit, but you're being a cunt now. Can you stop casually spreading extremely top secret information? Connor's astonished that the creature would even come through the anomaly given how toxic the chlorine would have been. Stephen reckons that's why it likely went home immediately after feeding. And the last from the beginning is being charged for the murder of the diver, which Claudia is pissed off over. Lester refuses to clear her name. He says he'll make sure the charges are dropped after the incursion is settled, but Claudia's not having it. Is this show becoming Rosa propaganda? Because you keep getting me on the side of the arseholes. At a nearby reservoir, meanwhile, the anomaly reopens and something that I definitely cannot show on YouTube comes through it. It's the undigested bits of the bloke from the beginning. Love to see how Lester explains her murdering him, swallowing him whole, and then vomiting him up a few miles away. Oh my god, I had to put my feet up. You know, this show is doing something fresh. I gotta say, it's odd that they didn't automatically go for a Loch Ness Monster or a sea monster plot. It would have been an easy, canon-compliant publicity thing, but they kept it their own story. Respect.
He knew what he was doing when he asked me out. He knew we had a girlfriend.
And he'd also just been poisoned by a giant centipede.
Yes, thank you, girl. Oh, and Connor, for God's sake, poison means if you bite it, you're dead. Venom means if it bites you, you're dead. This underwater scene, nah, haha. This thing could be coming right for you and you won't know until its perfectly white teeth emerge from the muck and plunge themselves into your face. Hang on, how the hell is it able to swim in this shallow water? Like, look where its back fins are. Abby is not a tall woman. And then there's this shot of it in open water. Maybe it's a water perspective thing, like when your legs look detached from your body in pools. Or maybe it's just a continuity bluff. But at least this is a reasonably sized Mosasaurus. Jurassic World has done a lot to raise awareness for feathered dinosaurs and paleontological misconceptions, but they have also brought up an entire generation of kids to think that Mosasaurus was a Godzilla kaiju. The anomaly closes just after this thing passes through, which is close. Although I don't think so, because I'm starting to believe that passing through an anomaly weakens it, and the bigger the animal, the more damage it does. This explains why throughout the series the anomalies conveniently close as soon as the story ends with the giant animal going away. We're given quite a lot of mystery in this episode. The anomaly keeps opening and closing around London and not even necessarily in bodies of water. The diver from the reservoir reappears in the basement of a house and...
Well, your dog's enjoying a swim anyway.
We haven't got a dog.
Oh my god, don't say that! That's horrible! Oh! This whole episode has me clenched while watching, editing, writing, and I can confirm while filming it as well. Connor's back with his mate, so I gotta presume there's been a lot of time since they pranked him, because he's acting very chill for a guy who just got arrested and made redundant by them a week ago.
Are you alright?
Oh, I can't believe, not the distant cousin of the Wilhelm triplets. They clarified that this diver died of shock. But if that's the case, then how did he get this handkerchief? Was someone waiting on the other side of the anomaly in the middle of the open ocean specifically armed with a handkerchief for such an eventuality? Well, actually, yeah. The handkerchief is embroidered with the initials HC. Helen Cutter is unequivocally alive and well and living on the other side of the anomaly. And because Nick had these suspicions and didn't go to the Home Office about it, he's now in shit. But because the basement did fall within his predicted lines of where the anomaly would reopen, it does mean his theories about the anomaly jumping is correct. Ooh, Nick looks good in green.
What?
My memory's back. I thought that I was never going to see you again, and I didn't want to die without you knowing that I liked you, huh?
Oh yeah, look at him cowardly owning up now.
Should have been thinking about your girlfriend.
Lester decides that since Helen is instigating contact and her experience would be invaluable for the Home Office, he's going to send Cutter on another expedition through the portal to bring her back. Cutter is hesitant until Lester says if he refuses, he'll be pulled from the team entirely and their SWAT team will go bring her back. Again, he acts like a hard ass, but so far he's responded within reason the way that anyone would, given his situation and responsibility. God, I hated saying that. I wonder what the pressure difference would be going through an anomaly. Be a nice touch if it had a little windpipe you get in tornadoes or portholes that suck pressure in. And there's a bunch of swimming here. It's beautiful, whatever. I'm skipping to the land scenes because I want to live. Finally, the Cretaceous period. And look, you can even spot some pterosaurs in the distance. And this is where Primeval really stands out above the rest of the live-action paleo shows. It doesn't feature any dinosaurs. Not for its first season, at least, and even when they do bite the bullet and introduce avian dinosaurs, they're used infrequently and don't take the spotlight away from the roster of other creatures. This episode is in the Cretaceous, the same time as the dinosaurs, but the only species we see are the Mosasaurus and some pterosaurs, which I remind you, aren't dinosaurs, just different species that lived at the same time as them, and were also killed in a mass extinction. Oh, and because I know I have pedantic dickheads in the comments, yes, technically Hesperontus is an early bird, and dinosaurs are birds, so okay, fine. You ruin my point, and dinosaurs do appear in the first season of Primeval. You happy? Nick and his wife have their first conversation in over 10 years, and Helen is just infuriating to talk to. She is barely the woman she was when she was married to him. Her words, not mine. And she's developed some kind of further mindset, some more advanced way of seeing the reality of the universe and the fabric of space and time. It could be played as very Lovecraftian. It isn't. Instead, Helen's more like a cross between, well, The Mandalorian and River Song, frankly. Which is a shame after the incredible build-up they've given her. The nonchalantness of how she talks to Nick, who is physically in shock that she's even alive, gives me vibes of when Jack appears to David as a ghost in American Werewolf in London, and the first thing he does is ask if he can have a piece of toast. That was a good movie. No oceans in that movie. She refuses to come back, but gives him the chance to join her in travelling space and time, and honestly, I think I might have folded. There is not much that I can think of that would hold me back from that. Why isn't he tugging on the rope for them to start reeling him in? Oh my god! Even if it takes him a minute to catch up the line, you could still get a head start. Nick, come on! I can't describe to you how much this is my personal, very specific nightmare fuel. I played Subnautica once, once. And it wasn't a very long playthrough. Sorry, I'm really getting into this. Primeval does do other water-based episodes, but they're not as good as this. This is the best horror one. Oh, it's an Imperial Star Destroyer. And the big one gets it. Cool detail in this shot is just before it, you can actually see the bigger Mosasaurus moving into position in the background. It's obvious once you see it, but in my experience, few people have had it pointed out to them. A nice detail. This is the sort of thing that makes a show rewatchable. See, they could have been pulling you through the whole time, Nick. And then they finally decide to pull him through anyway. He is fine, they give him a going over in the ambulance, but something isn't right. There's a weirdly creepy scene as they all know they're being watched, but are too scared to discuss it. Everyone's on the edge of their seat, and that's because Lester kept his word. The final shot of the episode is Helen being dragged into the back of a van. Episode 4 kicks off in a council estate, and oh, forgive me, I thought we'd tune back into Little Britain again.
She was so supposed to be here by now.
Got that black boyfriend now, ain't she?
No, but no, because it's...
And oh my god, Michael Jackson is back! Is Michael Jackson too obvious? Should I do like Dr. Disrespect, or would that just date it? What? Philip Schofield, that's a good one. Tonight, Philip Schofield joins the cast of Primeval. Helen's been held in maximum security, which she says is illegal. Lester brings up the very good point that she's legally dead, so has no rights, to which she compares him to a Utah raptor. I don't think she understands the connotations of that, because Utah raptors are cool as shit. Is she trying to insult him here? I'd be chuffed if someone said I look like a Utah raptor. She should have said a Cotlorhynchus. The call comes in of the creature attack at the council estate, and the group gets on it ASAP. The rock and roll montage of the squad team going in has such a 2000s feel to it. I love that. Can't remember if there's been any other ones, but this one stood out for me for how easy it is. Gives me like proper Sarah Jane Adventures vibes. These are some nice ass stairs for a council estate. But it all turns out to be a false alarm, though, as the creature we saw at the beginning was just an illegally held pet that had escaped from a different flat. Why was someone hiding a Burmese python illegally? You can get one of them from any unlicensed breeder off Facebook Marketplace. That's because this is actually an Indian python, which is illegal to be kept as a pet in India, not the UK, thus meaning this one must have been wild caught and smuggled over. Small detail, but you like to see it. Crisis averted, Tom and Duncan drop Connor off at Abby's flat, but not before giving him a little housewarming present. A keychain that has absolutely no significance to the plot. Haha, don't worry about it. See, Connor has decided to blackmail Abby into letting him kip on her sofa by threatening to tell the Home Office about Rex, and then makes her kiss him in front of his mates. As I said, at this stage in the TV life cycle, being a bit stalkery was just a bit quirky. Jesus, how much is this zoo paying Abby that she can afford a massive mezzanine studio flat in London by herself? Never mind how much electricity she must be using for all those vivariums.
Oh, no, that's probably the real boyfriend.
You never know, he could just be the other boyfriend. Abby seems like a progressive girl. I don't think polyamory would be outside of her vocabulary. Her, Connor and Stephen are basically how every poly couple looks anyway. Connor's fit is immaculate. The fingertipless gloves in short sleeves and no pants. Icon. Back at the Home Office, Nick is facing Helen in the interrogation room, hoping that she'll talk to him a bit more than she will do the Home Office. And she warns him that worrying why the anomalies occur should be his least priority, which I disagree with. Personally, I would be a bit more scared of the universe tearing itself apart than I would be a bloody dinosaur on the loose. But she follows this up with an ominous warning. Unless they act in the next few hours, a pack of saber-toothed tigers would be descending on central London. Knowing that in retrospect it is probably a trap, but not seeing any other options, the Home Office let her lead the way to where this supposed massacre will take place. The New Den football stadium in Bermondsey.
I think I trust her about as far as I can throw a Stegosaurus.
Oh, Stegosaurus is an elite dinosaur, and this is the only time that it's mentioned in the show. What I wouldn't give to see a single stegosaur roaming a farmer's field on a chilly winter's morning, just as the sun rises over its dorsal plates. Arriving, the team find no evidence to support her claims, but Helen guides them to a large stainless steel fridge, which Cutter confirms could be thick enough to block its magnetic field. Claudia approaches to open the doors. The military unit gathers, guns aimed and ready, but sure enough, when the fridge is opened, Chaos erupts as the magnetic field disrupts the entire kitchen. Helen was telling the truth, much to Claudia's annoyance.
This is where you duck. Okay.
This is the part where you run away. Back with Connor's mates, we learn that the Roswell keychain is actually a homemade tracking device because they are determined to find out what's had Connor so preoccupied lately. I'm starting to like these guys. I thought they were quite shitty mates at first, but Connor's also kind of a shitbag himself, so receive what you give out, I guess. They've tracked him down to outside the stadium, which they reckon is actually some kind of secret government bunker.
The meat will act like bait!
Helen, you tart! Actually, no, this was obviously a trap. I'm sorry, you only have yourselves to blame. They rush her and... God damn! They come out to a weak spot in time that's able to host multiple anomalies, meaning Helen is long gone. Fans have come to call this spot the Anomaly Spaghetti Junction. We never actually see it again in the show, but it would be used as a core plot device in the novel Extinction Event, where at least one of them is clarified to lead to the late Cretaceous period. With that, Helen's gone, but the team barely have chance to recuperate. But the team barely have chance to recuperate before... Hey, I think this would mean that the anomaly is open to Mauritius. I mean, dodos only went extinct in 1662, so this could potentially be the most recent anomaly in the past. Though I suppose they could have come from any of the anomalies in the cluster. But still, it shows that they can happen as fairly recently as just a few hundred years in the past. Oh, it is good to see Nick having fun. During this dodo mayhem, one of them decides, oh, microplastics, and swallows Connor's tracking device, which results in this magnificent moment.
Oh my god, I've turned Connor into a turkey.
This plot point may be contrived as hell, but I will be damned if that line didn't get at least a solid nostril exhale. They all round the dodos up, and I think after everything the group has been through in such a short while, a little dodo time was badly needed, you know, as a bit of a treat. But it doesn't last too long, unfortunately, as, oh no, one of the dodos has passed. They reckon it was probably the shock of coming through the anomaly, but Cutter wants an autopsy to be sure. Tom and Duncan are discussing what the hell it is they found and come up with a theory that the UK government is cloning extinct life and that the dodo must have been their practice run before they want to start breeding larger, more dangerous animals. You can't clone birds, actually. It's why even if technology did exist to bring back prehistoric animals from the past, you still wouldn't be able to get a Jurassic Park. Because dinosaurs are birds and we can't clone birds. It's something to do with the DNA at a genetic level. Yes, I'm fun at parties, why do you ask? Connor, my guy, what are you doing? That's not even quirky, that's just full-blown stimming. He's not using it to interact with the anomaly, he's literally just banging his head with a giant metal spoon and making spaceship noises. They gather up all the little fellows and send them back, but not before one dodo takes a second to turn back and, quite rightfully, shout at them before going back through the anomaly. Tom and Duncan take their new friend back to theirs, and their place looks way nicer than it should be. It actually broke my immersion. Their student accommodation needs to look like this. This is the kind of people we are dealing with. This is the kind of person Connor was before he decided to touch grass. The dodo was starting to tear shit up, but Tom lets it, saying after they expose the Home Office and become millionaires, they'll be able to buy 1 million MP3s. That is until it chunders all over his expense Converse. I really like the scenes with these guys. Later, Cutter, Abby and Stephen are prepping for an autopsy when the dodo carcass spasms and... meet our antagonist for the episode. Not a physical animal to try and contain, but a viral parasite. Again, thinking outside the box, you gotta love it. They have the 1925 Lost World on TV, but for some reason they swap out the T-Rex roar with the Gorgonopsids from the first episode. Why do this? If it was a rights issue, I could understand, but Lost World is public domain, hence why they probably used it in this episode. Maybe the sound designers were just very proud of their roar. Can't blame them. It's a badass animal roar that actually sounds believable as a noise a real animal would make. Okay, what is going on with this perspective? How high is this dodo able to jump if it's biting at the light bulb? He needs to get his ass out of Primeval and into the NBA. But ever since that dodo nipped Tom on the arm, he's going beyond being a bit of a quirky nerd and starting to act like a full-blown disturbed conspiracy nut. And when when Duncan tries to help him, he lunges out like a vampire, and then his eyes start to go, holy shit, is this a vampire episode? Duncan starts to realise how out of their depth they are and comes clean to Connor, who I'm surprised doesn't absolutely twat him. But when the Home Office arrives at their flats, the dodo is dead as a... and Tom's nowhere to be seen. Duncan explains how quickly the dodo's behaviour went from passive to violent, and the team deduced the worst. Tom has been infected with the parasite and will likely be looking to pass it on to others.
You know those movies when you think the killer's finally dead and then all of a sudden they just jump up again?
Yeah, I bloody do. We had that with the Gorgon Obsid just a few episodes ago. They are really getting their mileage out of this dead dodo prop. Can't blame them, it looks bloody fantastic. Does this still exist? I want this. Crawly Creatures made this. If this is sitting in a warehouse or something, I want it known to them. I am prepared to give good money for this dead dodo prop. And by good money, I mean this video's ad revenue. So if you would like to help me on my quest to obtain Primeval's dead dodo, you know what to do. Tom tries taking himself to the hospital, but he's becoming more and more sensitive to the light. Fair dues to him to actually have the good sense to go to the hospital for a CT scan, but very bold to assume that if there is a huge conspiracy going on, that the NHS wouldn't be in on it. That's when we see... Jesus Christ. He gets an MRI and the doctors want to operate immediately. But he lashes out again, this time actually bites someone. Luckily, the Home Office is able to get to him early enough that they can avoid it becoming another infection. I think it's the opposite xenomorph rules with this infection rate. Ever notice how in the Alien movies the embryo takes like a day to hatch originally, then as movies went on that time got shorter and shorter until it only needed to incubate for a few seconds? Is the reverse of that here. They wanted a vampire story for episode 4, but not a zombie outbreak, so we don't have to worry about other dodo people running around. Connor and Duncan reckon that Tom will be locked in and trying to expose the team. Suggest he might even use the tracking device to try and pick up the dead dodo again. Only trouble is, the dodo's with Abby. And thus kicks off a race for them to get back to her before he does. But he's beaten them to it. He recognises Abby and asks her for help. She agrees, but it is obvious he is rapidly becoming unstable. Where has all this martial arts training gone? Oh, if you're ever driving out and you see this scene, a dangerous looking hairy bloke with a scared Hannah spirit and a dead dodo prop in the back, just know it is me and I succeeded. She's genuinely trying with him here. She takes him back to the football stadium to show him the anomaly and prove that they're the good guys, but as she opens the fridge and the anomaly's gone, it's the last thing to push him over the edge.
Do you think I'm stupid?
I don't know, bro. You did just walk slowly into a bolted freezer with your back turned, so the accusations are there. About time she fights back. I get she's trying to avoid him because he's got the T-virus, but I've seen shit she does in later seasons. She is being gentle with him because she genuinely doesn't believe he's in the wrong. Oh, and this is another very 2000s chase scene. The camera is shaking, Tom's thunderous voice echoes down the corridor, Abby is running for her life, and then the camera reverses to show a scrawny white man. It's a bit like if Venom took control of Ron Weasley. I know at least 5 moves she could do on him from this position. Like, girl, I know you're trying to be gentle, but he's trying to kill you, my love. Ryan and the special forces arrive just in time, but Connor pleads with them not to kill him. This is his best mate, and if he'd been more transparent, none of this would be happening. Tom and Duncan were dicks to Connor pretty consistently. Connor was a dick to them in return. But they're mates, and that's what matters. He talks him down by reminding him of all the good times they had together, which is the longest string of nerdy buzzwords yet. This is their entire damn friendship. and it's forced. They always give full names and titles of films and games like the actors have never heard of them. But that's a nitpick. The gentle piano music really pushes this scene from contrived to heartfelt, as I'm genuinely starting to get a bit sad. Tom dies in Connor's arms, the first major character death, and an eye-opener for the team that this is their job. Conspiracy, death, and losing the people you care about, and they're sworn to secrecy. They won't even get to mourn. The emotion in this episode hits like a smack in the mouth. Primeval has earned its title not just as a creature feature, but as a genuine drama. Next episode, we kick off on a golf course. Now, I don't play golf, I'm not a Tory, but even I know this guy is shit.
So where are you, you little git?
Okay, I say that on the regular when I'm looking for the remote, and they're like, I had no idea until this rewatch that this is where I got that from.
So where are you, you little git?
Why does he say it like that?
So
where are you, you little git? In Florida, you only have to worry about alligators on the golf course. Well, at Forest Heights Country Club, London, England, you get giant flying death machines. Connor is suffering from Tom's loss hard. He's playing Oblivion and finds his old save. Bless him. When you lose someone, you don't expect the most random things to keep reminding you. My dad passed away a fair few years ago now, and I still have his number saved on my phone. It's not going to do me any good, but how could I delete something like that? But he quickly returns to his sleaziness as we find out he's been turning the temperature up in the flat for Rex, but really just to make Abby strip off even more. The sheer roller coaster of emotions here is too much for me. I can't believe this is rated 12. Am I going to have to start censoring Abby? I suppose it's a bit late now, but I'll play it safe. The Home Office crew arrive at the scene of the golfer's death and put the place into lockdown. But they can't find any trace of a creature, no prints or scats. Of course, we know that's because it's a flying beastie. And I can't help that it would have probably built the mystery a bit better if we hadn't have seen that POV shot earlier. But it was cool, so I'll let it pass. But that doesn't last long anyways. The magnetic compasses pointing upwards show them where their anomaly is. Connor gets the call and in his frantic rush to get ready and leave, leaves the fucking window open. Why was that open in the first place? But Rex fancies being a bit of a silly guy. He's in a bit of a silly, goofy mood and decides he wants to go on today's adventure. It's moments like this you're reminded that this is technically a kid's show, but comedy is welcome after that gut-wrenching 4th episode. Never mind the dead Dodo, I want the Rex car bobblehead. Pre-order available now at HMV. Back at the anomaly, Stephen finally spots something overhead, and it's bloody massive. It's like they swapped the Jurassic World thing with the Mosasaurus. Oh yeah, we can have a normal-sized Mosasaurus while they have their kaiju one, but we need a Pteranodon that will give Rodan a run for his money. Oh my god, I'm going to fucking shit myself. I lost one of my tortoises at the park once. A tortoise. And worse than that, it was the one with 3 legs. We were pulling strangers off of the path to help us look for our 3-legged tortoise that had somehow managed to run away while we weren't looking. We found her, obviously, she's fine now, but she can barely move. So imagining this situation where she could just fly off into the sky at a moment's notice, I believe the term is, it's sending me. And then when he finally does take off, oh my god, you feel your entire stomach just sink.
You know what, I swear, when I catch you, you're going to be the first animal to become extinct twice.
Another line that goes hard, but not technically true. Get ready, ladies and gents, it's history time. The process of de-extinction sounds like science fiction, but it's actually science fact as of 2003. The species had only become extinct 3 years prior, but because they'd preserved the body and it had a lot of sister species already alive, they were able to produce a living specimen. The story kind of stops being as cool after that, as the juvenile didn't live long, unfortunately, due to breathing complications, but it means on paper, we brought an extinct species back to life and that is cool as hell. Totally irrelevant to the episode, but I thought you'd find it quite cool. Let's carry on. Except not yet. Yeah, I'm filming this bit way after all the other stuff this video has taken so long to put together. I've had a whole ass daughter in the time it's taken me, but I couldn't let this bit go without a little bit of a rant. Apex Science can fuck off. They did not bring back the direwolf, they made a slightly larger grey wolf using an obscenely small amount of direwolf DNA. The two aren't even closely related, they'd have been more accurate using a hyena. All of the changes that they made to it were entirely superficial. That species is still extinct, the direwolf has not been resurrected from the grave. Oh, just let people enjoy things. No, I'm annoyed about it because I've waited my whole life to see de-extinction break the news. Even if they bring back something major now, like a mammoth or the thylacine, the first worldwide news of an extinct genus being resurrected has been wasted on these spicy wolves. The dream is now tainted. It was the pyrene ibex that was the first species that became extinct twice. I don't know why I didn't specify the name of it in the original. I think at the time I just didn't know how to pronounce pyrene. Not entirely sure that I still do, but I'm making that clarification now. The pyrene ibex was the first species to go extinct twice. Not Seleucirorhifus, and definitely not the fucking direwolves. Thank you, and now I return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Back on the golf course, the group have spotted Connor wandering about and the Pteranodon's interest in him. Cutter theorises that although Pteranodons wouldn't have been a danger to people, and likely wasn't the culprit of the savage murder, it is starting to look way too interested in Connor to be safe. The show exaggerates its carnivores for sure, but that doesn't feel like the case here. The design is too slick, it's too beautiful. This is an animal, not a monster. And our suspicions here are right, as what initially looks just like a cool slow-motion jump shot, if you pay close attention, the Pteranodon turns its head at the last minute. It was going for Rex, not Connor. Oh, Abby is pissed, and rightfully so. Her secret's not only been exposed, but now Rex is on the loose and with a predator after him. Connor makes it out okay, but in the kerfuffle, shots are fired, causing the animal to leave the golf course and enter the skies of London. There is no way people aren't seeing that. Oh, it's a Saturday, so it'll be empty. Yeah, it'll be empty because they're all outside the building enjoying the rare British summer. There's a bus of people right there. This takes the urgency away from Abby's lizard napping as the group rush to contain the animal, which they end up tracking to an office block. With it being such a large creature and no realistic way to contain it, Lester gives the order to shoot the animal down immediately. Ryan and his crew set off to do just this, but Cutter is determined to get there first and capture it peacefully. They have a plan to lure it close enough that Stephen can tranquilise it, and, much to Claudia's dismay, they want to use the red of her shirt to lure it in.
Come on, it's magenta.
Fuck off, no it isn't. Maybe the colour correction didn't work well on the film, but her shirt has been lighting up every scene she's been in this episode.
I take the decisions.
Hang on, if the tranquilizer worked that fast, what the hell was Stephen's plan to shoot it down? If they'd done it while it was in the air, that thing would have plummeted about 70 feet and become a poached pteranodon egg. That would have been funny if I said scrambled, but the pun didn't work. We're in this together, come on. Crisis averted, we swap back over to Connor and Abby, still trying to find Rex.
He knows the sound of my voice. I'm thinking he might come running.
He's a lizard.
I have a tegu, and she does come when she's called, actually. And monitor lizards are especially good with audio cues. Given Rex seems to be warm-blooded and has dog-level intelligence, I think he's just having a good time right now. Like when you lose your dog off its leash. You're having a crisis, but they think it's a game while you're chasing after it. They do eventually catch up to him, where they then realise that the team might not be as in the clear as they thought. Bringing the unconscious beauty, the Pteranodon, not Claudia, back to the golf site. They wait for it to awaken so they can return it through the anomaly. Claudia comes to, and Cutter is really charming in this bit. He plays angry very well, and those are when he does the best speeches, but these slower moments when he's playful and honest feel like a heartfelt glimpse into the man underneath. And when she reveals to him that this whole scene she's been blind, your stomach practically drops in sync with his. The Pteranodon has shat itself in its sleep, and now the evidence is definitive. No trace of human remains, which means it's innocent, and the real killer is still out there.
You have no idea how revealing Duncan can be.
That's just not right.
Bro, that was completely unnecessary. What the fuck do you plan on learning by eating its shit? If it's been to any of the local kebab houses? Then again, maybe he's just committing to the bit to discuss the security team, in which case I quite respect it. We meet the true culprit, a flock of Angranaphus. These guys differ heavily from their real life counterparts, maybe the most out of any species we've seen so far. A lot of shrink wrapping going on here. That's the term used whenever prehistoric life is depicted as, well, just the fossils with skin on, no muscles, feathers or fat crafted onto it. Very interesting book by C.M. Koseman that runs modern animals through this lens as an example of what we've been accidentally doing in paleomedia for years, and the results are nightmarish. You've probably seen some of these floating around on the web. This is the book that brought you these monstrosities. In reality, these guys were probably the Jurassic equivalent of bats. Look at these fellas, they are wonderful. But warped through the primeval lens, they are portrayed in this as a swarm of flying piranhas that will strip a body of its flesh in seconds. They're what killed a golfer, and now they're hungry again. I was really expecting that to be another Wilhelm brother for some reason. I've reflected a lot in this video on my childhood crush on Abby, and while I'm finding it's definitely still there, I don't want it to come across like I'm sexualizing Hannah's spirit or implying her role is watered down to just being eye candy. So in the interest of fairness, I think it's only right to mention that Claudia's tits are absolutely immaculate in this scene. Nick tries to leave and get help but ends up being trapped in the ambulance, while the blood stained on Claudia's shirt is getting the flock all riled up. This shit is genuinely scary and would make a good indie horror game. You know, she can barely see the obstacles and enemies, so you'd have to play it with really good headphones. Maybe it's a two-person thing, you have to take turns rescuing each other, one with limited vision relying on hearing and the other armed with a melee weapon. If someone makes that, I will play it on the channel. But Claudia is saved at the last minute with a surprise appearance by Helen, of all people, who vanishes as quickly as she appeared. I like that though she's definitely insane, she's not quite a murderer. Not just yet. With the flock likely toasted, Claudia safe and Rex back safely in Abby's apartment, everyone's able to take a decent sigh of relief. This was an anxious episode. I'd say maybe the most tension-filled, if it wasn't for what's next, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
I'll move out of the flat tomorrow.
Good! You've done nothing but let Rex escape, perv on your co-worker, and not pay rent. It's funny that as a kid, Connor was my favourite character, but watching it again now, he's like kinda pervy, kinda selfish, but still also kinda my favourite character. But the music here is sad, so it brings us and her around into letting him stay. And hopefully this gives his character a chance to do some growing, because right now she could do so much better.
And if you leave your dirty boxer shorts on the bathroom floor one more time, I shall kill you.
Was that an Ahmed the Dead Terrorist reference?
Silence! I kill you!
And we're on the last episode already. We got here quick. I think every episode of Primeval is only 46 minutes long, which means watching the entire season, you could be done in like 5 hours. I just wish writing the script only took 5 hours. It's still going. You ever wonder why I take so long between uploads? Still going. Back at Central Met, Cutter is relaxing by playing golf with a fossil. This is my kind of man. I don't know if I want to be him or be shagged by him. Claudia Brune comes in for a chinwag and they get on the topic of Helen and where exactly her allegiances lie. Because she'd done nothing but cause problems for the Home Office in the past, and I don't quite know how to word it, but saving Claudia did seem somewhat out of character, as it's the first time she's shown any regard for human life. About the only real reason I could see for it is, well, it's obvious that Nick likes Claudia, and Helen obviously can't be with him anymore, so I guess she helped her so she could make Nick happy in the ways that she couldn't anymore. That hints at a very complex character behind Helen that kind of isn't touched on again. Cutter lays it straight and he says he gave up trying to figure out her allegiances when she abandoned him for the anomalies 8 years ago. Fair. And disagrees with the opinion that she's not helping them out of spite towards him personally. Cutter laughs this off and dares Claudia to get him to open up, which she immediately goes for the jugular with, asking him if he still loves Helen, to which the bastard avoids the question. But before she leaves, Claudia warns him about sexual harassment in the workplace, referencing their kiss last episode, but says it with this big shit-eating grin on her face. I think I do ship these two. It's rather telling that as a kid, I preferred Connor and Abby because they were young and cool, but as an adult, I like Cutter and Claudia better for their chemistry and angst. Oh, and what a welcome sight. We are back in the Forest of Dean, but sadly without the same level of gorgeous X-Files-esque cinematography from that first episode. They've put electrified fences up around the site, and I'm sorry, but if you really want to contain this and study it if it ever reopens, keep the press and innocent people out of harm's way, then why not just build a whole facility around it? Or just fill the whole area with concrete? Lester, you're slacking, man. Do you want Eldritch Super Predators? Because this is how you get Eldritch Super Predators. When the team arrive, they find no evidence for creature, besides the giant gaping hole in the fence, so deduce it must have gone back through of its own accord. Otherwise, they'd probably know about it by now if they had another Gorgonopsid on the loose. At the flat, Trabby's Trabby? Who the fuck is Trabby? The Gorgonopsid! When you take a bit too much and you start becoming a Gorgonopsid. Over at the flat, Abby is trying to teach Connor how to flirt, where unfortunately he can do nothing but fire back nerd references at her. My guy, women don't just teach you to flirt for no reason. She's coming on to you, bro. Take a hint. But it's all cut short when she gets a call from the zoo about a missing lion. That sounds important. Meanwhile, Claudia and Lester are arguing again about Cutter's leadership, as he's still wanting to fire him for keeping Helen's survival a secret. Claudia's points are sound, but at this point you can tell that she has completely fallen for him. And she brings up the good point that he's probably the closest thing to an expert on the anomalies that they have, which makes me wonder what that title would be. An anomalologist? I really want to... I can never pronounce words, but I really want to do this one properly. An anomalologist. An anomaliologist. 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 That's what it's canonically called. Now, thank you very much. Cut back to the uni, and Helen nearly uses her reality warping powers again here, but just decides to appear normally to Stephen instead. Maybe that's telling us a little bit of her secret. Maybe she doesn't disappear, but just blends into plain sight to an almost superhuman level, perfected by her years of surviving through the anomalies.
3 people have disappeared in the last 48 hours. I know what happened to them.
Creature.
They use the term creature so much in this series. It's not a bad term to use, but it is the only term that they use in reference to something that's come through an anomaly. It's never an animal, a beast, a species, a megafauna, a thing. It's always a creature. Helen seems to want to stick around this time, as she proposes an unarmed meeting between her, Cutter, and Lester. Stephen does push her for details about what exactly this entails, but she doesn't budge, only letting him know that it is related to the recent disappearances. And what the fuck? And did she say I missed that? So, now we found out these two were having an affair before she disappeared 8 years ago. She was his teacher and his best friend's wife. I'm sorry, I knew I didn't like Stephen for a reason. Connor comes with Abby to the zoo, I guess for shits and giggles, and not Toby Jones explains the mysterious circumstances under how their lion disappeared, with the cage broken into from the outside and lion blood splattered about. This should already be a red flag that a creature's involved, but I suppose these two specifically have encountered false alarms prior. But later, Abby finds herself alone, vulnerable, and being watched by something. Luckily, the elephants, which we did establish she's working with now, thanks to the deleted scene, come over and spook off whatever was watching her. Oh, and remember I mentioned the Gorgonopsid coming back? Well, here he is. He's not only returned, but his super hunting has doubled, and he's tracked Claudia all the way back to the Home Office for revenge. No, she's obviously having a nightmare. She did mention having bad dreams earlier on in the episode, to be fair. And man, it is nice to see this creature design again. Even in dreams, this thing refuses to die. Stephen gets the go-ahead for Helen's request and they all meet in the park, where she reveals that a predator from the Forest of Dean anomaly is indeed behind the recent disappearances. Apparently it's already taken, not eaten, 3 people back to its lair, and she was nearly the 4th victim. That's why she's here. She's not up to her usual shenanigans, she's there to help. But when they want details of what she's thrust them into, she can't give them. And that's because it's not a named species that's after her. It doesn't exist in the fossil record because it isn't from the fossil record.
The future. Are you saying we're being attacked by a creature from the future?
Oh, you knew it was gonna happen eventually. Doors go both ways. They are dealing with a future predator.
Say that again?
And suddenly, all the fun curiosity of the show's prehistoric fauna turns to abject terror as you realise we at least have a solid date for when we believe life on Earth began, but going the other way, and the potential variety of life that could exist in that time. The vastness of time and space is a concept that can completely flip anyone's stomach. The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all of its contents. Then she drops another, less clear bomb. The anomaly in the Forest of Dean doesn't lead to the future. It's still the Permian one, but the animal that they're dealing with came through an anomaly that led from the future into the Permian era, then found its way through a second anomaly into our time. Meaning there is an unguarded anomaly to the future open in the Permian era that could allow hundreds of these things into the past, causing, presumably, untold havoc to the timeline. I hope that all makes sense because it's the plot of the episode. The next day, Connor and Stephen arrive at a revelation. There's been another disappearance, this time Abby's boss. This lets them connect the dots that the creature was responsible for the attack on the lion. And oh, what's this? What was first assumed to be lion DNA was actually found to be Mr. Holmes. It was the DNA of a gigantic bat. It's a fucking Hound of the Baskervilles reference. No one's gonna get that shit, but wait, shit. Abby is at the zoo right now. This thing has killed twice there and probably will again. It becomes a race against time to get there before their invisible enemy does. Abby's down below with the water puppies when she has the creeping itch telling her she's being watched. Mercifully, it's Stephen, but they are still not alone. A beast with thermal vision that can move at incredible speeds and camouflage to almost any environment. This is what happens when you crossbreed the predator with the rake. And it moves almost like a tarantula, like a scurrying with malicious intent.
We can't afford to If you want to find its lair, you're going to need dogs.
Need dogs? Dogs? This thing killed a lion earlier. I'm sending Ethan Bloody Winters after it.
Thought we only killed these creatures in self-defense.
This one's too dangerous, and if we kill it, it can't affect the past or the present.
Yeah, it's a very good point. If it's from the future, then killing it would risk no impact on our time stream. So, yeah, I say kill on sight for anything from the future. Oh my god, not Wilhelm's other cousin! This sequence is very panicky and quick. It gives the vibes of the daytime scenes during Predator. That movie put all of its horror scenes during the day and kept its action scenes for night. It was a rare and bold choice. Not many people give the film credit for that. It worked then, and it's working right now. Overstimulation horror, I call it. When too much is moving that you can't tell what isn't a threat. Just described having a panic attack, didn't I? Well, that's what this feels like. This all leads us to the logical deduction that whatever this eldritch sleep paralysis demon is, it had its origin in bats. That isn't even that far-fetched of an idea. There's another book called After Man, which aims to take one of many possible different glances at Earth's future in a realistic setting. How certain animals might evolve to fit certain clades after our mass extinction is over. Oh, and yeah, humans are a mass extinction, if you didn't know. In the book, we meet the Night Stalker, a future evolution of bats that went on to live on the forest floor, hunting like foxes on its back legs. The accompanying description goes as follows. These creatures walk on their front legs, on what would, in the case of a flying bat, be its wings, the site of most of its locomotive muscles. Their hind legs and feet are still used for grasping, but now fall forward to hang below their chin. The largest and most fearsome of these creatures is the Night Stalker, Menambulus perhoridus. It might look funny, sure, but nature doesn't care. It'll spit out any goofy-looking ass. It ain't stupid if it works. I can see the evolutionary path that allows something like this to evolve. This is a bat. Now this is a bat without its wings. It ends up in an environment with a lot of prey on the floor, becomes the top predator, its wings get used for galloping, and in a few million years you've got something that starts to resemble the future predator. Now just run that through the same monsterification lens that Primeval does with all of its creatures and you have the future predator. Do it again, you get the Death Angels from Quiet Place as well. How they did not get done for plagiarism for those designs, I will never know. That's what they call it, by the way, the future predator, as a kind of blanket terminology. The in-universe designation of the future predator has never been given, but Menambulus horridus would be my contribution. With the revelation that they may be dealing with a bat, they reckon they could backtrack its sonar waves with an oscilloscope, which they so happen to have in the car. But as Connor finds it and activates it, never mind predator, this just became alien. Hey, hang on, Abby is willing to square off against this Lovecraftian hellspawn, but wouldn't put Tom in a scissor sweep takedown. Thank God Stephen was there to pop it one, because what was her plan here? Harsh language? This whole ordeal fucking traumatizes Connor, rightly say if I say so myself, so he's on the sidelines for the rest of this episode. In another nice look at Cutter's more sensitive side, it's him who calms him down and even goes toe-to-toe with him on the nerd references. Look how chuffed he is! They soon happen across the nest of the creature, surrounded by the partially eaten corpses of the missing persons. They've been brought back here to feed the animals young. Yeah. I'm not gonna say that I want this baby future predator prop, but...
What the hell is it?
Oh my god, Wilhelm's third cousin, and so soon after the last. Oh, the humanity! Nix jumps to action, grabs one of the babies and tries to lead the angry mother away. The adult detects its young and pursues him into the greenhouse. He starts firing, not at it, but around the creature, disturbing its sonar enough that he can pop off a lucky shot right between its eyes. God, if this show had been made today, Douglas Henshaw would be one of those celebrity daddies like Pedro Pascal and David Harbour, I swear. Crisis averted, the team return to the home office and start the difficult conversation about what to do with the living young. On one hand, they didn't kill anybody, and it'd be a few years before they became dangerous to humans. They could learn a lot about them. But Helen reckons that like most animals, they'll have a strong homing sense that could potentially lead them to the future anomaly. But that would involve returning through the Permian era to do it. It's a lot of leaps of logic there, and Helen has fooled them nearly identically like this before, so I'm sorry, no, I'm firmly with Lester's idea of just killing them now and be done with it. Claudia has another dream, this time seeing herself breaking apart like an anomaly. This is making me think it's something more than just job-related PTSD from the last episode. I'm not sure where this is going. Nothing like this has really happened in the show yet, and I don't think it's a coincidence that this starts as soon as the future predator shows up. We finally get to see Cutter's house this evening, and it's a little disappointing compared to his office. I was expecting him to basically live in Lockwood Manor, Helen staying with him, since she technically does still live there and tries getting a bit frisky but gets turned down. Does she just come back to the present whenever she's horny? I swear. He tries pushing her for more info about the future predator, and she reveals one tidbit she conveniently decided to leave out earlier. The predator's here because it's hunting her. She encountered it in the Permian, and in her attempt to escape, brought it with her to the present. She's not here to help. She's here because she needs their help. Even when she's being vulnerable, Helen Cutter just has this oozing evil about her. She is a great villain. Everything she does has some ulterior motive, and you literally cannot trust a single thing that comes out of this woman's mouth. Juliet Aubrey did a fantastic job in the role. They have the baby predators with them, and their plan is to secure, defend, and study the future anomaly to the best of their ability. Just as they're getting ready, Claudia speaks up, pleading with them not to go. She has a bad feeling about this, and oh Jesus, they are going for it as well. Damn! Did someone not eat breakfast? And remember, Nick and Helen aren't divorced. She's doing this in front of his wife to be a bitch. Icon. This man has women throwing himself in every time period, and he's just not interested. It's like an isekai anime. Connor's fit in this scene is probably the hardest he's had yet, with the leather blazer really giving Ian Malcolm vibes. In the Permian, the team have set up a nice temporary camp, while Nick and Helen do some orienteering to get a good grasp on their bearings. Meanwhile, the autopsy has come in from the body of the future predator. The male future predator, which means... Look at that. This one basically looks identical to the first, except there's some brown coloration on it. I initially thought this was just dirt, and it was bringing up Permian mud while galloping, but the action figure does have this same murky brown coloration. So I guess there's some sexual dimorphism in our future predators. She gets him to take a nice picture of her in front of a group of your mums, but when it comes out, his blood runs cold. We've seen anomalies that move in space, but this one moved in time. They have come back to a time before their first expedition and have created their own past. I was talking about the future predator being Lovecraftian earlier, but this plot twist is genuinely like something from Shadow Out of Time. I'm not saying this is reference it, I'm saying I like when time and space travel is used in ways that actually induce fear responses. As the babies get more active, the group take that as a sign that they're near the anomaly to the future. But Cutter's seen enough. He knows how this expedition ends. Helen tells him to ignore that, though. They finally found the future. She lets her true intentions slip. She wants access to the technology of the future. Because of course she was fucking lying. I don't care that she's your wife. This woman has done nothing since coming back into your life but act in her own selfish interest and put others in danger. Whatever woman you loved, she is not that anymore. Oh my god, Wilhelm's black cousin. God, you thought the Predator earlier was bad. This one is a mother protecting her young. She tears Ryan's fucking face. Oh my god. Not Ryan. We liked Ryan. He was underdeveloped, but he was cool. He and Lester were about the only two sane people who worked here. Oh, and there he is. The beast is back. This was my endgame. It's been back for seconds, and what's the first thing it does? Starts eating babies. This animal is the actual devil. How much do you want to bet it's the same one from the first episode, and this is where it learned that humans can be a tasty snack? I honestly have no idea who's gonna win this fight, and it's not a short fight either. These are both vicious animals locked in a life and death struggle. The Gorgonopsid has got strength and power, and we've established that it is a vicious serial killer. But the future predator is smart, feral, fast, and now has nothing to lose. It's the past versus the future, but as we all know, and as this show taught us firsthand, nostalgia always triumphs. Blooded, bruised, and beaten, the crew leave the site of this massacre to return to the future. But something has survived. If these babies are able to survive into adulthood, you are gonna have 3 invasive apex predators running around the Permian. Okay, a Gorgonopsid could deal with one, but these ones are going to grow up here. They'll know how to pick their fights. Every kill they make, every track they leave, every second they exist is going to alter the Earth's history.
Where's Claudia?
Claudia?
Where's Claudia Brown?
I don't know anyone of that name.
Oh no, they fucking didn't. My mouth dropped. The music builds, the anomaly flares, Cutter's rambling to himself. It's the cliffhanger to define all other cliffhangers by. And I watched this entire season twice for this video, and it is just as effective the second time round. Oh, and before legging it again, Helen reveals her and Steven's affair. She is only exposing them now because Claudia kissed Nick. Do something original, Helen, come on. What happened to Claudia Brune? Did they change history? What else has changed? All questions left unanswered as Primeval Series 1 comes to its close. So, what do we think? Yeah? Yeah, it's good. Pretty bloody brilliant, actually. But it's tailor-made for me. It's British X-Files with dinosaurs. Without dinosaurs. You can look at it as an educational Monster of the Week show for kids, or you could look at it as an experimental slow burn mystery for adults, and it fills both of those niches pretty well. It really is a family show. The definition of family show being something that can be enjoyed by multiple generations. And it clearly captured the hearts of its audience, going on to have 4 more seasons, a spin-off show, and a slew of merchandise. Andrew Lee Potts even runs a Primeval podcast that you can listen to now on YouTube, or join in by becoming one of his patrons.
I need more friends who like Primeval.
Exactly, right? Who doesn't?
I love Primeval. It's one of my favourite shows. If you like this video, let me know. This only touched on the first of what's technically 6 seasons of the show. I'd more than happily do the rest of it in this format if you guys are game. I do still want to do shorter content. This is my first time trying something longer form. I said earlier that I want to make videos that are the sort of videos that I'd be interested in. And well, I watch long form deep dive videos all the time. Billiam's done it with Lost, Keenan's done it with The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and now hopefully people can get the same amount of interest from my video that I got from those. And I can't believe that we got through an entire episode without mentioning the creature from the Black Lagoon. With Saldra and Carl, my friends. Bye-bye.
Subscribe! Subscribe to Dr. Headley!
Come here. Say hello. Say hello.